Part 1 ended with the 1979 revolution. Iran told the world, "We're done being anyone's chess piece." But here's what happened next. The West tried everything to finish Iran. Sanctions, assassinations, proxy wars, chemical weapons, cyber attacks, even a nuclear standoff. And Iran? It built a space program, sent monkeys to orbit, developed nuclear weapons in secret, and kept 85 million people alive through 40 years of the harshest economic siege in modern history. This is Part 2, the story of how Iran refused to die, September 22, 1980. Saddam Hussein's Iraqi forces invade Iran across a 700 km front. The world expected Iran to collapse in 2 weeks. It didn't. What followed was 8 years of the deadliest war since World War II, 500,000 to 1 million total dead, millions wounded, entire cities flattened. But here's what your history books skip: the West didn't just watch. America actively backed Saddam. The CIA shared battlefield intelligence with Iraq. Western companies sold chemical weapon precursors to Baghdad. Iraq used mustard gas and nerve agents against Iranian soldiers over 30 times. The UN confirmed it in 1984 and 1986. The Security Council condemned Iraq, but did nothing to stop it. SIPRI, the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, documented it. Iraq's chemical attacks against Iran represented the third deadliest use of chemical weapons in human history. After the Holocaust and World War I, Iran sent teenagers to the front. The Ba'athi, a volunteer paramilitary force, recruited boys as young as 13. Iranian government records confirm 183,623 Iranian deaths at the front alone. Entire generations wiped out. Cities like Khorramshahr, called the City of Blood, changed hands multiple times, leaving nothing but rubble. The war ended in 1988 with a ceasefire. No winner. No territory changed. Just 1 million dead, and a lesson Iran never forgot: no one will save you. You must save yourself. That lesson led directly to Iran's most controversial decision: going nuclear. Here's the thing most people don't know: Iran's nuclear program was started by America. In 1967, under the Shah, the US gave Iran a 5-megawatt research reactor under President Eisenhower's Atoms for Peace program. After the revolution, Khomeini actually shut down the nuclear program, calling it un-Islamic. Then came the Iran-Iraq War. Iraq used chemical weapons. No one stopped them. And Iran realized, the only deterrent that truly protects a nation is nuclear weapons. By the late 1980s, Iran secretly restarted its nuclear program, importing key equipment from Pakistan's AQ Khan network and from China. In the late 1990s, senior Iranian officials approved the Ahmad Plan, a secret project to build 5 nuclear weapons by 2004. It was led by physicist Mohsen Fakhrizadeh. The Ahmad Plan made terrifying progress. Iran acquired foreign weapon designs, conducted conventional explosives testing, and studied how to integrate a warhead onto a Shahab-3 missile. Then in August 2002, an Iranian dissident group publicly revealed Iran's secret underground enrichment facility at Natanz. The world was shocked. Iran admitted it to the IAEA in 2003, but only the parts it couldn't hide. Princeton University's Journal of Public and International Affairs confirms, Iran split its program into overt civilian facilities and a covert weapons stream that continued quietly until at least 2009. Harvard's Belfer Center obtained the Iran Nuclear Archive, 55,000 documents stolen by Mossad from a Tehran warehouse in 2018, proving Iran had a structured nuclear weapons program far more advanced than publicly admitted. Israel decided, if Iran gets a nuclear bomb, Israel ceases to exist. So Mossad started killing Iran's nuclear scientists one by one. Between 2010 and 2020, 5 Iranian nuclear scientists were assassinated in targeted operations. The method was almost always the same. A motorcycle pulls up, attaches a magnetic bomb to the car, drives away. Masoud Alamo-Ahmadi, nuclear physics professor, killed by a remote-controlled bomb outside his home in January 2010. Majid Shahiri, nuclear engineering expert, killed by a magnetic car bomb in November 2010. Dariush Rezaianejad, killed in July 2011. Mustafa Ahmadi Roshan, killed January 2012. Then the biggest target of all, Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, the father of Iran's nuclear weapons program, the man who ran the Ahmad plan. Killed in November 2020 by a remote-controlled machine gun mounted on a truck, operated by satellite from Tel Aviv. Israel never officially claimed it. But Time magazine and Western intelligence officials confirmed Mossad's involvement. Iran retaliated, attempting up to 20 attacks on Israeli diplomatic missions worldwide in 2012, all failed. The Institute for National Security Studies in Tel Aviv confirmed, the assassination campaign forced Iran to constantly replace its top scientists, slowing the nuclear program by years. But it also hardened Iran's resolve. Every assassination made Iranians more determined to finish what they started. While Mossad hunted scientists, the West tried to strangle Iran economically, for 40 years. The first US sanctions came in 1979, freezing over $8 billion in Iranian assets after the hostage crisis. By 2012, the most devastating sanctions package ever imposed on a peacetime country hit Iran. The Federal Reserve's own research paper confirms, Iran lost $104 billion in export revenues between 2012 and 2014 alone, a 33% collapse. The Iranian rial lost 80% of its value in months. Inflation hit 45%. Unemployment soared. Medicines became scarce. A peer-reviewed study in Science Direct found, sanctions reduced Iran's middle class by 17 percentage points between 2012 and 2019. Millions fell into poverty. Brookings Institution was blunt. Sanctions caused enormous suffering for ordinary Iranians, but never broke the regime. In fact, the regime used sanctions to justify authoritarian control and blame all problems on the West. Iran adapted. It built underground oil pipelines, created cryptocurrency networks to bypass dollar transactions, traded oil for gold with India and China, set up ghost shipping companies. CSIS confirmed, Iran's GDP growth under sanctions averaged 3% annually. Without sanctions, economists estimated it could have been 4 to 5%. The regimes survived. The people suffered. And Iran kept enriching uranium. Here's the part that shocks everyone. While under the harshest sanctions in history, Iran built a space program. In February 2009, Iran became the first Islamic country, and only the 9th country in the world, to independently launch a satellite into orbit. The Iranian Space Agency, created in 2003, initially received help from Russia. But after sanctions cut off that cooperation, Iran built its own rockets. Under President Ahmadinejad, Iran sent animals to space, mice, turtles, and in 2013, a monkey, and returned them safely to Earth. By 2024, Iran's IRGC launched the Suraya satellite to a 750 km orbit, a military reconnaissance satellite that alarmed Western intelligence agencies. Then in January 2024, Iran launched 3 satellites simultaneously on a single rocket, a feat only the most advanced space nations have achieved. The U.S. Institute for Peace confirmed, Iran's space program is directly linked to its ballistic missile program, Every rocket that can put a satellite in orbit can also deliver a nuclear warhead across continents. A nation under maximum sanctions. Assassinated scientists. Crippled economy. And yet, rockets in space. 2015, after years of negotiations, President Obama signs the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the Iran nuclear deal. Iran agreed to limit uranium enrichment to 3.67%, reduce its stockpile by 98%, allow IAEA inspections, dismantle centrifuges. In return, sanctions relief. $100 billion in frozen assets released. For 2 years, it worked. Iran's economy grew. Foreign companies rushed in. Tehran's stock market boomed. Then 2018, President Trump withdrew from the deal, called it the worst deal ever negotiated, reimposed all sanctions, and added more. Iran waited 1 year. Then systematically broke every limit of the deal, enriching uranium to 60%, then 84% purity. Weapons grade is 90%. By 2023, the IAEA confirmed Iran had enough enriched uranium for several nuclear bombs, if it chose to assemble them. Columbia University's analysis is stark. The JCPOA withdrawal didn't stop Iran's nuclear program, it accelerated it. So here is where we stand in 2026. A country that survived chemical warfare, CIA coups, 40 years of sanctions, assassination campaigns, cyber attacks, and still put satellites in space and enriched uranium to near weapons grade. The 2026 US-Israeli strikes destroyed 75% of Iran's missile launches, killed its supreme leader, crippled its air defenses. But history's lesson is clear. You cannot bomb an idea out of existence. And Iran's idea, that it will never again be controlled by outside powers, was born 3,000 years ago. ACL conflict research warns, regimes like the Islamic Republic don't collapse from military strikes. They rebuild. They adapt. They survive. The question is not whether Iran will recover. The question is, what kind of Iran emerges from the ashes of 2026? A democratic Iran? A nuclear Iran? A broken Iran? Or the same Iran, battered, defiant, and refusing to be anyone's chess piece? History doesn't give us the answer. It only gives us the pattern. And Iran's pattern has been the same for 3,000 years. Survive everything. Trust no one. Never give up. Which country next? Sudan's Nubian kingdoms older than Egypt, Yemen's 3,000-year dynasties, or Syria after Assad? Comment below, subscribe, and let's keep uncovering history's greatest untold stories, together.